Hi, my name is Tiffany. I am working on discussion board 2 for diversity in the United States. Number 1 says, what unique value do slave narratives and speeches have? So I read the chapter. There was the tiniest section of slave narratives, just the one page I felt like. So I read that, and then of course I got online and did some more research. So slave narratives, the unique value they offer are firsthand accounts of what it was like to be a slave. Um, this also allowed slaves to have a voice of their own. Um, you know, whenever they were slaves, they weren't allowed to write or learn to read, pretty much do anything that might lead them to realize that we need to get out of this immediately. I'm sure a lot of them did know that this is not how this is supposed to be, but this offers a perspective. This gives them a voice to say, this is what happened to me and it was wrong, or this is what happened to me and there's nothing I can do about it, but I've accepted it. It also opens the lines of communication between African Americans and white people. Back in their time, white people may not have understood exactly how horrible it was to be a slave, and what the conditions were. I myself personally, whenever we first learned about slaves, I just thought they were people that went out to the field and picked cotton and they came back in, and that was it. Like, they didn't get beat and they didn't get the best food, but they didn't get the worst food. Like, there's people. No. Through my years of schooling, many years of schooling, learned that it was actually a lot worse than what people thought it was. With the beatings and the, you two will get married because you guys will make giant babies and that's what we need out here, picking cotton or sowing the field or whatever needs to be done. You don't, even if you were married before and you were into slave, you were now paired up with somebody else who would give the child that they would like to see born. And then, I read about the kid. So the guy's kid who was inside and who he and his wife came in to get their baby after they had been working in the field all day, and the baby was bruised and crying and upset. And I, as a mom, cannot even imagine how horrible that would be. I would be devastated. Each narrative is unique in the perspective of a slave. I know that probably some of them are similar, but it would be like asking anyone what it was like to go to my high school. We all had a different perspective. And then also, hopefully we can learn from our past mistakes and we don't enslave more people. Number 2 says slave narratives and speeches are often used in middle school, high school, and college curriculum. What value do they have in these environments compared to fiction pieces like poetry, short stories, and novels? So the value that they do have, they show today's youth or young adult or older adult kind of the horror of slavery and what it was. They talk about what actually happened. This actually happened to person X, and this is what happened, and this is his account of it, and this is it. It's kind of like the Holocaust. You don't get a lot of perspectives until you realize that there are actually some out there. And so researching the slave narratives, I was shocked how many are still out there and how many you can find. The internet makes it kind of tricky because you have to make sure it's real and not something that somebody made up. So that's something I had to dig through. Number 3 says, what difficulties could you see if you were a teacher teaching slave narratives and speeches to a group of students? The difficulties teaching students, it could be really gruesome. Some of the stuff I read made me cringe. I was horrified by it. There's nothing I can do now, but it made my heart hurt. Like the little girl inside and the parents coming in. I can't imagine coming home to my kid and thinking there's nothing I can do, but, and the dad escaping and leaving behind his wife and kid. That's devastating to me. Another thing that would be hard would be how to make the kids relate. We're a pretty pampered bunch, and so we don't know what it would be like to be hit every day, and not only hit, but beat within inches of your life. We don't understand that. I don't know that many of us ever will, and that's okay that we don't understand that. It's probably for the best that we don't understand, but we would have to link it to something that they would understand, the equivalent of getting your cell phone taken away or whatever it may be for whichever group of kids you have. You know, predominantly in my area, we're white or Hispanic, and so our white culture would have a hard time fathoming how you would go without food and water, and not just food and water, but good food and water. You know, we eat really well, we're very well taken care of, and the slaves were not in all cases. You know, sometimes they just had bread and rice and water, and that's it, and that's all you got, and that's what you got to deal with. So this is my opinion of Chapter 4, Discussion Board 2. Let me know what you think, and I will hopefully get back to you. Thanks. Have a great day.